Well, good morning everybody. Welcome to another webinar. How's everybody doing this morning? The Mikey, good morning. Anthony, George, Marcus, Ashraf, Pete, Ian, Michael. First of all, can everybody hear me okay? Just do a quick sound check. Ian, welcome. Welcome. Morning. Okay, first of all, thank you for joining me. We will get into the charts within a few minutes. You can see in front of you, you should be looking at the Forex factory calendar. We do have a little bit of news out today. We've got at 12 o'clock pound news out, bank rates, monetary policy. These are things we should pay attention to for the pound, and we do also have Carney speaking this evening at 9 o'clock as well. Other than that, there's nothing really that I'm paying attention to in terms of news. The purpose of this room is to review the opportunities that meet the rules outlined in the educational material at freeforexeducation.co.uk. In layman's terms, it simply means that we are only going to take trading opportunities that meet the rules. So just before we get stuck into the charts, what a great night. Had three winners. They were long overdue. A lot of you know that I've been in a drawdown for a couple of weeks. Prior to that drawdown, we had an amazing 3 weeks where we had the markets that just produced a lot of breakout patterns and a lot of winners, and the drawdown was not unexpected, and it was a tough few weeks, but we pulled it back with a beautiful dollar CAD 129 pip winner. New Zealand, was it a New Zealand yen or was it a dollar yen? I can't quite remember. Flag pattern for 75, and then we had that pound yen bat ABCD pattern double top, which hit target ones as well for 45 pips. So it's lovely when you just wake up in the morning and you wake up to three winners. Got me out my drawdown and threw us into profit. New Zealand CAD, thanks Marcus. Your memory is obviously better than mine. Anybody looking at any trades just before we get stuck into the charts? I do think it'll be a quick one. There isn't a great deal out there, but I do have a few opportunities on the radar. I am looking beyond my standard 13 pairs as well. If you do have anything that you're looking at, just chuck it in the chat. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. Other than that, we'll be doing a review from our top-down analysis to our lower time frames and looking for those entry reasons. So let's crack on with doing a review. Now I do want to, I think we're going to start off on the pound New Zealand. So let me bring my two charts over. Right, I'm going to start on the pound New Zealand, and if you guys remember on the last webinar, I still have the workings out here. I missed my entry, and the reason why I missed my entry, believe it or not, was because I've been so busy with the website. It's actually affecting my trading, and had a little bit of a tech problem this morning as well, and all those kind of situations. But anyway, I still have the workings out, and if you remember, before I delete this, I'm going to go to the 240, and we talked about this double top, about the violation and the pullback for a 26.18, and then I said that the amount of risk on the table for a trade this size, I think it was around 100 pips, and it was a bit too aggressive just for a 26.18 trade. And I said that what we can do is we can drop down the time frames and we can highlight the wicks. So these are the wicks here, these are the wicks here, and I said these are the areas that I will pay attention to for another rotation pattern. And look at what we got. Right here we got a double top within the wicks. Not only that, but we violated to the downside, and then it produced a 26.18 as an entry. that meant that you could have got an entry here, stops just here. Targets, well, conservative targets are down here. Actual targets I would play for would be down here. And I did say that these trading opportunities do come off, and unfortunately I just wasn't paying attention and I was busy, so we missed that opportunity. But it doesn't mean that we still can't get involved with the trade. There is still the potential that we could see a little pop to the upside. I have already dropped to the 15 and taken a look to see if there was another entry. I thought initially we were going to get a flag pattern here, direct move, flag, but it didn't quite meet the rules. But that would have been a great entry because it would have meant stops just above here and targets would have still been in the same place. But it's one to monitor. We're going to keep an eye on that one. How much reward was in this, just out of curiosity? 180. What's 180 pips? Was anybody in the chat forum last night when we were waiting for the news at 7 o'clock and we were talking about a few trading opportunities? I know Pete was, Marcus was. And this week has been a bit tough in trading, taken quite a few small losses, but obviously we had those 3 bigger wins, which has more than made up for it. But yesterday I actually posted 3 trade ideas into the chat in the afternoon. We had the pound yen 5 or 15 minute triangle. But I couldn't get an entry. That went on to hit for around 25-30 pips. We had the Euro Aussie AB equals CD pattern coming into structure, RSI confirmation. We waited for the double top, didn't quite get the double top, and it rallied down to hit for something like another 30 pips. And then straight after that it produced another AB equals CD pattern, same situation, came into structure, RSI confirmation, we waited for the double top, and again it just rallied and actually hit both targets. So yesterday afternoon, if you was in the chat, you would have noticed 3 trading opportunities that I posted in. All 3 won, but we didn't get an entry. And you know, that's what happens sometimes, guys. We look at the week, or for me the last couple of weeks, and we've had I've gone from being doing very well and then hitting the drawdown, and then having trading opportunities that meet the rules and the plan and waiting for the entry, only for them to go on and hit targets without being involved. And this is what makes trading difficult. This is why 90% of traders fail, because of the psychology. Being able to be in arrears, lose money for those 2 weeks, and then wait for the winners to come, and they came last night, but then have 3 opportunities that also went on to win but not be involved. So it's very difficult, and I think being part of a community, which is what we're trying to build here at Free Forex Education, being part of that community is going to help build confidence, it's going to help teach and learn, and there's going to be more eyes on the market. So that is my morning rant over. Let's carry on with a look at the pairs. Let me cross out pound New Zealand. The next one I want to go to is going to be the dollar CAD. Now, we spoke about this. We obviously hit for 129 pips. I did say though there is room for this thing to go lower, down to this level, in fact even this level, and the reason for that is when we have 2 structure levels close together, usually the lower one is tested. Just before I get too far ahead, guys, if you are new and this room is moving a little too fast for you, don't worry, follow along as best you can. If you have a question, ask it. If not, you have all the educational material within the website. You can log in there, registration is free, and go ahead and learn that stuff. So we are still moving lower. When we see direct movements like this, we can drop to our lower time frames, and this is where I'm going to be looking for 5 range trend continuation opportunities. So dollar CAD, this was our swing high. We had the move lower, the pullback, the move lower, the pullback, this was the outside return, this was the lower close candle I got involved with, and since then it has been nothing but a nosedive. And we have now violated this level of structure down here, and if we look left, as mentioned, this is the lower level that we can come to. Now, are we going to see this thing just rally all the way down without any type of retracement? Who knows? The RSI is currently oversold at 10. We do have a psychological number just here at the 13200, but that, you know, it comes into just an internal level of structure here that we want to pay attention to. Let's drop to the 60. Directional move lower. 60 is oversold here at 6.5. So really I would be really paying attention to coming into that psychological number. Psychological numbers, even though they may not appear to be decent levels of structure, for me, when we have the RSI oversold quite significantly as we are in this case, we typically do see a little bounce, and we could see a bounce here up into our previous outside return, and that could be an area where we look for a continuation move to the downside. Right now though, let's go and check out the 15. Come in lower, let's check out the 5. Come on charts, these are not my standard charts, so they do take a minute to load. Okay, you can see right here on the 5 you already had a trend continuation trade, so we had a move lower, outside return, move lower, outside return, move lower, outside return. So this was the outside return. It gave you a lower close right here, playing for a continuation. First targets would be here, and personally I would have then, if you're in it, hold for secondary targets down to the 130 psychological number. On a 5-minute chart I just wouldn't hold anything past that. Let's go and take a look at the 5 range. If you don't know what the 5 range is, it is just a different way of looking at the Chinese candlesticks. So whereas Chinese candlesticks on the 5 minutes form every 5 minutes, on the 5 range we have a new candle that forms every 5 pips, and it usually shows you some different ebbs and flows. In actual fact, it doesn't really show a great deal here. The 5 minute is better, so I don't think we're going to get any type of opportunity here, to be honest guys. There's not going to be enough room in it. If we come down here, put in a new low and see a pullback, and then down to that 12100, yeah, there'd only be 10 pips in it, and so I don't think we're going to get any type of opportunity there. So, but we'll keep it on the radar, you never know. Any questions on the dollar CAD? If not, I'll scrub it off my list. We had some movement earlier which has blown a few of the opportunities out the market. We will next go to the pound dollar though. Welcome Orsi, Rudy. Ison, I-A-S-O-N. Ison, is that how you pronounce your name? Ison. Also guys, this is YouTube Live. There is around a 15-second delay, so apologies, but we just have to work through it. So here on the dailies we have our most recent swing. We had a move lower, pullback, move lower, pullback, move lower. Okay, technically putting us in trend here, and this would be the outside return. Am I comfortable selling this? I'm not. Okay, so this right here, we have only just made a new structure low guys, and what that typically means is that we tend to see a deeper retracement. So when we look at trend, we have a move lower. If we have a shallow pullback, we tend to see big extensions. If we see big pullbacks, we tend to see bigger retracements. Okay, this type of trend for me is not as I don't like it as much as this, because they tend to be lower probability. Things like this tend to be rotations, so I'm not too happy about selling the market here. A couple of weeks ago we spoke about this pattern, X2, no, wasn't that one, it was X to A to B, B to C, CD completion down here. So it was a butterfly. We also had an AB equals CD pattern here, which came down to this zone. And I said pay attention to this area just here, because we've got this wick. And so we could actually be seeing a head and shoulders play out here. And the way that would look is head and shoulders is a pattern, guys. So with a pattern we typically have a pole. And this is how I personally differentiate what is a trend rotation in terms of a violation of structure compared to what is a head and shoulders pattern, which is still a rotation, but it's a pattern as well. Okay, and the pattern for me carries more weight than a simple trend rotation. So directional move here, pullback, move lower. If we get a violation to the upside and a pullback, as long as we do not hit the 382, which would be targets for this butterfly pattern, I will be dropping down the time frame. So I'll be looking at the 240 at getting involved. Now this, yeah, George, yeah, you've already spotted the head and shoulders. This is a daily time frame pattern, so I would have to drop down to the 240, and we're seeing quite a decent rally here. What I will be looking for though, sorry, let me go back to the daily, is I'm going to be looking in the left shoulder in the wicks, and I'm going to drop down to the 240, and due to the size of this pattern, my conservative entry will be in this area. I'm going to be looking for a rotation pattern. And guys, there are three ways that the market rotates. Two of them we can trade. What are they? Throw them in the chat for me, would you? While we're waiting, I'm going to have a sip of my water. Yep, head and shoulders, double bottoms, exactly. And we wait for those because not only is it going to be a rotation pattern, but it can also offer us a safe place to put stops. George, yep, 3-bar reversal as well, perfectly valid. The only problem with a 3-bar reversal, in my opinion, is that your stop has to go below the lowest point. Whereas if we get a double bottom just here, or a head and shoulders, well, my stop then has to go there. And this is a big pattern, so you know I would like to have the risk reduced on this trade. I mean, even if we got it down here, it would still be 50 pips of risk. So it's some ways away that though, obviously. What I am looking at now is that if we put a structure level on at our highs just here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests. We've got a clear V-shaped swing in the market, and we've got a directional move. Okay, these directional moves is what I love to see because it provides opportunity to get involved in some higher quality counter trend or even trend continuation moves. So the RSI at the moment, we've gone overbought here. We're currently at around almost hitting 90. However, that does not mean anything until we come into this structure level, guys. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to highlight the wicks, and I'm going to wait for price to come up to this area and provide either a double top for a little counter trend move. How far we can, how low we can come, I don't know, but there is this structure area here, and I'd very likely be taking profits at this zone. That may also come into a 382. Yep, 382 into that zone as well. Also be looking for a head and shoulders, but also it's very early, but we do like to predict what the market may do so that we are prepared for when it happens. We could also see the market start to do this just before we come into our structure level, and it could give us a nice flag or breakout pattern, something like that. So we are moving quite directionally there. Let's go and take a look at the 60. Here on the 60, with this directional movement, we have just violated this level of structure. So my personal opinion is that we've got pretty clear sailing now up to this level. That means that because we're moving so directionally, I can drop to the lower time frames and I can be more aggressive with my lower time frame trend continuation trades. And we have a setup right here, so move higher, outside return, new structure high. So this is our outside return right here. We have three places we look. We have the first chance entry, which is the wicks just there. We have the second chance entry, which is the candle bodies. And remember guys, if we're moving very directionally, typically the first chance entry is what we get involved with, and the last chance entry. So because we're in trend here and we're moving very directionally, we've just violated structure. It looks as though we've got pretty clear sailing up to those targets. Let's just make sure there's enough room. Yeah, it looks as though there is. We could see a 35 pip move here, so let's drop down to the 5, see if there's a day trading opportunity here on the 5 minute. Okay, 5 minute. Look at that guys, little double bottom down here that you could have used as an entry into as we came into structure. So what do we have here? We do not have a great deal. A lot of the times we do get flag patterns. Flag patterns are breakout patterns. Typically they appear in trend. So breakout patterns in this type of formation is what I would look for. I'm just going to check out the 5 range. Again, gives a different look, and sometimes we do have those patterns on the 5 range. No, nothing on the 5 range. Okay, back to the 5 minute. Do we have a valid double bottom? Well, we have held this first test right here, and we haven't closed below the first test. Do we have the RSI confirmation? This is a pound pair, so I can take it from below 30. No, we're just over 30, and we didn't have bearish divergence either. So even though this is a retest, this is not a valid first chance entry for me. And we're not setting up, there's not enough room here to set up a head and shoulders, so there's going to be nothing here on the 5. I am going to drop down to the 15, and we're then simply going to wait for second chance entry guys, which is going to be a higher high, higher close candle, or last chance entry. We're going to be looking for one of our 2 rotation patterns, double bottom or head and shoulders. Guys, if you've only just joined and you don't, the room's moving a little bit too quick for you and you're not too sure what these strategies are that I'm talking about, head over to the website. The strategies are explained in the educational material. Anybody looking at this setup on the pound dollar? Anybody got anything other than what I've actually been through? And just while we're waiting for that 15-second delay, I'm just going to be checking out the pound New Zealand on the 5 range, because we're moving quite directionally. We're getting a breakout of that consolidation area. I'm going to see if there's a way we can hop on this move, this 180 pip move that is without a doubt going to happen and hit targets without me. AB equals CD pattern we've got forming on the pound New Zealand. Sorry guys, I do like to talk to myself when I'm working. It helps. Saying something out loud carries more weight than just saying it in your head. Oh, it's not a great deal there. Sorry, got to shoot. Alright Pete, no worries, thank you. Patrick, you said there was no divergence. We need bearish divergence. There's always divergence, but there is no... okay, so let me go back down to the 5. So for a valid double bottom, we need to see if this was the first test and this was the second test. On the first test here, we need to see, oh, excuse, you're right, Patrick, apologies, there is a small amount of divergence there, so ignore that. There is divergence, but we didn't have the RSI confirmation. It was just over 30 for me, so still couldn't take it, but yeah, well spotted. So we're simply going to monitor this then, and on the 15 I'm just going to wait to see if we get that higher high, higher close, if we can pull a little lower. So we'll just put that on the back burner for the time being. And if there's no questions then on the pound dollar, I'm going to move over to, what's the next one? We'll leave the euro dollar just for the time being. We'll leave the euro yen. Okay, I'm going to go over to the pound Aussie. I was looking for a short, but it has already played out. But pound Aussie. We have a, thought we had a deep Gartley at market, but it is a butterfly. We just tapped that 1618. Down into the 127. Yeah, no, there's nothing there. Okay, let's go and take a look at the dailies, show you what I was looking at. So we've had some decent movement on this currency pair. Down here we've held structure. We got the bounce that we looked at, which was into this zone. It looked as though looking at this candlestick formation here that we were going to get a follow through right down to retest the lows again, but we've now put in a big bullish candle, but we have not violated these highs. Okay, something that we want to pay attention to. Let's go down to the 240. If I put a structure level on at our very highs just here, we still do not have a confirmed rotation. Okay, we are trading within the wicks. We do not have a violation, so there is no trading opportunity on the 240. Here on the 60, we did just about make a new high just here, but then again we've traded within this wick. So really there isn't a great deal here, guys, on the 60. What I was looking at was that we had a swing in the market, a fairly directional move, and we could have been starting a channel like this, and I was paying attention to this morning up at this level. Now we had a double top and a 2618, but when I show you this, the double top was here. The 2618 came down to here. We put in a long spike and we pulled back then for the 2618. But can anybody tell me why I wasn't then interested at getting involved with a 2618 where I was looking at selling the 61.8? Anybody tell me what stopped me from selling the 61.8? If you look at this trend line, what had we already done? The structure level, we'd already come down into structure. So even though it was a 2618 trade, for me it had already played out, so couldn't offer me an opportunity. So nothing here, guys. I am just going to go back to the 5 range and take a look at the 5 minute as well. That butterfly pattern, if it produces a double bottom, I'll actually use that as an entry. Let me just reload my charts. Okay, so we have a fairly decent level here up within the wicks just here. 1, 2, 3 tests. The RSI, because this is a pound pair, is oversold at 22, so it's valid for me. So X to A to B, B to C, CD completion was here. We can also look at a 127 inversion, treat it exactly like the completion of a Gartley pattern, but it's not really setting up as though we're going to get a double bottom there. But I'll monitor it. We'll see if that provides a conservative entry. Any questions on the pound Aussie, guys? So there isn't too much on the radar, if I'm honest. We might have a few lower time frame opportunities this afternoon, but not a great deal. Let's go and take a look at the Eurodollar if there's no questions. Yeah, Ashraf, move's already happened. That's only just come through, so we're looking at about a 30-second delay at the minute on YouTube Live. So, Eurodollar for the past few weeks, we've talked about this move, this swing in the market moving lower, and the fact that we could see a bullish breakout here. And what happened is we also then spoke about this triple retest down here, the fact that we violated and broke above this trend line, and what we did is also violate this level of structure right here. So we can predict that the market can come up to this next level of structure up here. If we drop down to the 240, I'm just going to reload my charts again, guys. It keeps reverting back to the default for some reason. And then what we've seen really is, well, we saw this 2618 play out. Came down to that 61.8 fib. That's what we saw. Too aggressive for me. That I don't like 2618 trades, but I use them in areas where I've already got additional confirmation. So what I like to do is add additional strategies together. So head and shoulders, double top, then the 2618 just adds more confluence and increases the win rate, and it also increases your reward to risk. So the market's moving higher here, and the area I would be paying attention to is this area right here, where we had a double top, because we are moving very directionally, and if we get up to that area, we're already overbought here at 82. We can look for maybe a little counter trend move here, little double top, something like that. But we'll have to wait until we get up to that area. Okay, on the 60, not a great deal. We are moving directionally. That's one thing we want to pay attention to. On the 15, we are in trend, just like the pound dollar. Move higher, outside return, move higher, outside return, move higher, outside return. And again, guys, when we move directionally, typically we come into the first chance entry, and that's what we've done in the last couple of pullbacks. So we're moving higher again here. So the only thing that concerns me is right now we are at a psychological number 1300, and you guys know my feelings about psychological numbers, particularly if we're being aggressive and dropping to the lower time frame. What also concerns me is that we are in this structure level here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even though this is trend continuation, I'm going to have to wait for a few more moves here. I'm going to have to wait for another move higher, a pullback. Then at this point, we'll be pulling back into this decent level of resistance at the 113. And then I'll look at getting involved and then looking at riding it up. Everybody see why I would not be looking for a trend continuation trade right now, even though it's a valid trend continuation trade opportunity. And also, have you guys got anything on the radar for the Eurodollar? Because of the delay, what I'm going to do is just move on to the next pair, and I'll come back to it if you guys say that you do have something on the radar. What would I do if it formed a double top there? I would not take it. I would not be looking for a counter trend move on the euro dollar, not until we'd got up to that higher structure level. The reason for that is because, you know, we just look at the directional move we're having here on the 240, look at the directional move we're having on the 60, we're still having it on the 15. These levels of structures to me are just internal levels of structure, even though we've tested it 4 times. The other thing as well is I've got no prediction of how far price would actually come lower, because overall my bias is we're going to go higher, and because we're moving so directionally, for me a double top at this level would be a lower probability trade. So really I'm going to be waiting for another 3-point move and then a chance to get involved. Okay, what else do we have on the radar now that that's out the way? Okay, let's bring over the Swiss yen trade. Swiss yen. I've wrote down that we have a flag pattern or a channel. This isn't for right now. This is one for the future. Just wanting to check on the pound dollar, guys, see where that's up to. Okay, all right, so Swiss yen, swing in the market, directional move. We can draw out a pole based on the rules outlined in the educational material. We duplicate it, move up. We're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4. The third test cannot touch the closes of the first test. We did not do that. That is a sign that we are coiling or we are wedging, and that validates the pattern. Now this is a very large pattern. We also need a minimum of a 382. We've come into an almost 50% already, and we must also need structure, and typically, guys, these turn within the wicks. And right here we have a very small price reversal zone, and it just so happens that that's going to come in around about the area that we're going to be looking for our shorting opportunities, which also would give us a nice place to put stops just behind this 110 psychological number. Now if this flag is too big for you or it's not valid, as a minimum we have a channel here, and we can drop down the time frames and look for entries. And channels is also something that I do run through within the educational material. And if you do get a channel that produces rotation patterns, you can bounce off the sides of these channels and earn a lot of pips from them. And one thing I do talk about is that how we can actually draw out the trend line and how we can spot the early signs of there being a channel. So we do get rotation patterns all the time, so double top. Down here we've got a double bottom. Did we get anything in these two areas? Well, let's drop to the 60 and see if we did. Yep, up here we had 1, 2, 3, 4 tests up in this area that you could have got short, and down here it looks as though in this area we might have to drop to the 15, but we've got a rotation pattern. We could have got a head and shoulders here. Let's have a look. So first of all, is it a pattern? Do we have a swing in the market? I move, this would be the left shoulder. I move lower, I move higher, I pull back and I move higher. So yep. So just to go back to this and show you how profitable these channels can be, and in fact the educational material I did for channels, I absolutely love it. It's not my most profitable strategy, but it could be, because look at how many opportunities you had. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're coming back up to this area, and this will be another opportunity that's going to offer 5. And if you bounced it off this channel to here, it's 153 pips, 150, 143, and 150. So you get the idea, guys. When you have these form on the higher time frame, they can be very, very profitable. So as a minimum, I am going to be looking at this going into probably next week now, and I'm going to be looking for that counter trend move. Any questions on the Swissy yen before we move on? Just going to take a look at the Euro CAD. It's another pair that isn't in my standard portfolio, but we do have a breakout pattern. I have mentioned this a few times over the past few weeks. We could have got the breakout now. So swing in the market, directional move, and the way I was drawing it out when we spoke about this the other week, this third test down here did not come down to test the first test, therefore it validated a breakout pattern for me. Now right here we have now had the breakout and the violation of this level of structure. Now if this is a valid pattern for you, then you should be predicting a move lower down to the structure level. And if we look at our targets, which is for this type of pattern, I'd look for a 127. The problem with this is that your targets are going to be a violation of that level. So in this instance, I would probably look at taking reduced targets, or at least first targets at this level. And really then it's a case of waiting. Do we get a pullback? Where do we get a pullback to? We could see it within the wicks just here. We could see it within the trend line. We could actually see a pullback all the way up to this area. It's something that we're going to have to monitor. What I do like about this is that we had a directional move lower, and right here we've just also had a big bearish candle. Alright guys, when we see breakout patterns, if we miss our most optimum entry, it doesn't matter, because typically breakout patterns break out. That means we get directional movement. With directional movement we get trend. With trend we can be more aggressive, particularly on the lower time frame, because we have a breakout pattern that typically breaks out with force. And this candle here, this big bearish red candle, is an indication of that. So we're on the 240. Before I drop to the 60, what can I expect if I drop down to the 60? Given the fact that we have a big bearish candle that has just violated this level of consolidation, and the fact that we're moving sideways, what do I want to be looking out for in this situation? Just while I'm waiting for your responses, guys, I'm just going to be going back and checking on these opportunities. Yep, low and tight flag, exactly. Breakout pattern, trend continuation pattern. So let's drop to the 60. Now I did measure this out, I can't remember if it was valid for me. So swing in the market, directional pole. Actually yes, this was valid for me, I remember. I was waiting for a better reward to risk. Okay, minimum of 4 touches, 1, 2, 3, 4. My entry can be this red candle. I just need to wait for the candle to close. However, there is a problem. There was a reason why I didn't take it, and it was because if I put a structure level on just here, it has occurred at the 14900 psychological number. So I can't take it because of that, but there are two situations when I can. The first one is I wait for the breakout. I wait for us to violate the 14900. I wait for the pullback, and then I get involved with the trade. The second is up here. if I get a rotation pattern, then that is more indication that the market is going to reverse and come lower. So it's a higher probability that we're going to violate the 14900 because it's a rotation pattern. So if we drop down to the 15, we'll just see what's set up. And it didn't give us anything. No valid top here. So this is one I'm just going to have to wait. But right now, if you can take them and the 14900 doesn't, it's not within your rules, you're allowed to go and take it. Well, you've got an entry right now. Stops just, what's the ATR? I'd only go 10 pips above the high. So you're looking at 23 pips of risk for a reward after front running of about 35. But for me, I'm actually just going to have to wait for that violation. Any questions on the Euro CAD, guys? And structure. Yeah, we are down at that structure level as well, Marcus. But if I do get the breakout on the 15 and the pullback, that would be confirmation for me. So I would take that as a potential trade. Just checking out the pound dollar, guys. Could we be putting in a advanced pattern as our entry? Let's drop down to the 5. Yes, we could, guys. Look at this. Okay, we have a double bottom or a retest from our swing low to our swing high. We have X to A to B, hitting a 50%, B to C, CD completion right here. This would give us a opportunity using an advanced pattern to get involved with a trend continuation trade. So with these, my stop always goes at the 113.5, and I'm going to front run because I want to make sure I get filled. Front run by 2 pips. In actual fact, I'm going to put my stop at the 127 here. It is only a small lower time frame trade, so I don't want to be stopped out early. So first targets are going to be a retest of the highs. I want to make that green, and let me go out to the 60. Secondary targets are then going to be a retest of that higher structure level. I'm going to go back to the 15. Of course, we've not got down there yet, but we could. Okay, so what would the risk be? 16 for 29, and if we hold for second targets, 51. So we'll monitor this and we'll see if we can get down there. Because these are not my standard charts, guys, I don't have my alerts set, so I can't set an alert here. So can you guys also monitor it just in case we get triggered if that plays out? Any questions on that? Let's just go back to the pound Aussie. Still eyeing up this butterfly pattern. Have we already hit? We've come within a few pips. Yeah, we've come within 2 pips of targets. Oh, what a shame. Scrap it. No opportunity there for me now. We've done the Euro CAD, haven't we? So I can scrub that out. Okay, just a couple of opportunities left that I'm going to be looking at. One is the Eurodollar. Nope, we've already covered that as well. So last one, guys, Euro Yen. Let me bring over the chart for the Euro Yen. This may not be valid anymore from the look of it. Looks like we have a back pattern setting up though. Let's go and do the high time frame analysis. Take a look at the dailies as always and work our way lower. So from our most recent swing up here, we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, a pullback. We've spoken about this over the last few days. This was the outside return. That was your second chance entry. We were looking for price to come lower and retest this lower structure level. Let's look left. The only problem here is that we are within the wicks, so we could still come down to retest those lows, or we may not. We may carry on up and produce a head and shoulders. So not a great deal here for me. Let's take a look at the 240. So we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower. The problem here is 1, 2, 3. We've had 3 tests of this area, and right now we are pushing higher. So this could be a confirmed triple bottom, and therefore I could not look for trend continuation. If anything, I would be looking for a rotation. In actual fact, right here, if you get a pullback, we could look for a 26.18 and a potential head and shoulders here. Might not be one for me. This is the way that it would look. And then a potential move higher, giving us a slanted neckline like that. The problem for me is that we've just violated this internal level of structure. So if I put a structure level on, these head and shoulders, I need them to come into structure, because at the end of the day, a head and shoulders is a rotation pattern, and just like a double top or double bottom, we only look for them at structure, and it hasn't formed at structure, even though this triple bottom has technically created new structure. I need it to appear at previous or historical structure. Okay guys, so did that make sense? Did you follow that? So even though this is setting up as a potential head and shoulders or 26.18, it's not going to be something I can get involved with. Let's go and take a look at the 60. Yeah, this isn't going to be a nice opportunity for me. Let's just see what structure the X leg comes in at. We've got that. No, it's not going to be a pattern for me, this. Okay, scrap that. Nope, nothing on the radar on the euro yen now. Let's just take a quick look around the other markets. See if there's anything of interest. If you guys have anything, chuck it in the chat. I'll take a look at it. Aussie dollar CAD. What's going on the Aussie dollar CAD? We're back up at structure. Still pushing lower on Aussie dollar CAD. Let's go to the 240. Still pushing lower. 60. We are up in this level. Inverted hammer we just put in here. Let's go to the 15. No, let's go to the 5. Yeah, I don't have enough data loaded. I will load more data for the next webinar that we do, but these are not my standard charts. But yeah, nothing on there. Marcus, Aussie dollar CAD came into daily wicks with potential 26.18 buy and head and shoulders on lower time frame. Yeah, you could have a head and shoulders setting up here. I don't have enough data loaded. In actual fact, you have a double bottom right there, or a retest. You've already had the violation to the upside. I'd look for a violation of this level and a pullback, and then a chance to get involved, something like that. But yeah, don't have quite enough data loaded here to check out the dailies. But other than that, not a great deal on the Aussie dollar CAD. Okay guys, anything on your radar? It's looking like it's going to be a quiet day, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to go out and go for a walk. I'm going to have a great big English breakfast. I'm going to treat myself because we banked in the night 129 pips on the trend continuation, 75 on the flag target ones, which was 45 on the pound yen. So I'm very happy to rub my hands together and congratulate everyone that took those trades. Well done. It has thrown me out of my 2-week drawdown straight into profit. And just like yesterday, we had 3 opportunities, all 3 hit targets, but we didn't get an opportunity. Throughout the course of the day and this afternoon, we'll be doing exactly the same thing. We will be monitoring, we will be waiting for the rules to be met, and if we get a valid opportunity, we will enter it. And as usual, if you're subscribed, you'll get the notification by email. But other than that, guys, enjoy your day. I'll see you in the chat. Thank you again for attending.